Some of y'all are out here putting war criminals in your fish tank. Just because it's shiny doesn't mean it won't body slam the rest of your fish at 3 a.m. Let me save your wallet, your mental health, and your aquarium. Here are the fish to avoid and what to get instead. So you're thinking about getting a tiger barb. First of all, bold move. These fish have main character syndrome, and not in the fun way. They're notorious for fin nipping, and not just a little nibble here and there. They will chase down any poor soul who dares to have long fins or mind their own business. And if they're not in a group of 12 or more, well, guess what? They get bored. And when tiger barbs get bored, it's open season on your other fish. It's given toxic group chat energy. 1 minute everything's cool, next minute your angelfish is in witness protection. If you want the same stripey vibe without the aquatic mean girls energy, get a 5-banded barb. They got all the looks and none of the trauma. These guys are literally just vibing. They school well, they mind their business, and they won't start beef with anyone in the tank. Think of them as the I'm just here to have a good time and go home by 9 o'clock type. They're perfect for community tanks, and they won't make you question your aquarium stock choices. So you saw a gold gourami and thought, wow, this fish looks majestic. And yes, it does, but it's also got the attitude of someone who leaves passive-aggressive notes on the fridge. Gold gouramis are stunning but moody, and by moody, I mean they'll stake out their favorite spot in the tank and start acting like it's a gated community. They can be weirdly territorial, especially with other gouramis or similarly shaped fish. 1 second they're floating around all peaceful, and next it's giving, I don't know who needs to hear this, but stay out of my bubble nest energy. Now, if you actually wanted that graceful vibe without needing to referee underwater slap fights, honey gouramis are your golden ticket. They're sweet, they're calm, and they're low-key obsessed with minding their own business. Like your cozy friend who drinks chamomile tea and listens to lo-fi beats. Still beautiful, still fancy, but without the emotional instability. You want a fish that brings peace, not passive aggression. Let's talk about Serpae Tetras. These little red devils look like a good time until you realize they've got the energy of someone triple-shotting espresso at 9 p.m. Not gonna lie, sometimes that's me. They're known to get a bit nippy with their tank mates, especially if they feel cramped or just in a mood, which is always. If your aquarium vibe is supposed to be calm zen energy, Serpaes are gonna turn it into a 3 a.m. Discord argument over head cannons. They'll pick fights and ruin fins, literally. But if you're into fiery aesthetics and none of the side quests and chaos, well, Ember Tetras are your tiny heroes. They're cute, bright orange, and they actually get along with their peers. Who knew that was possible? They love to school. They look amazing in planted tanks, and they won't start drama unless provoked. And even then, they're more like the walk away and journal about it type than the throw fins type. They're honestly the social butterflies who bring everyone together without turning it into a toxic Reddit thread. Alright, so someone told you Buenos Aires Tetras are active, and you thought, sweet, I want something lively. Well, first of all, sure, they're active, but also, they're menaces. They're constantly zooming around, being loud, snacking on your live plants like it's an all-you-can-eat salad bar, and just sitting there bothering your tank mates. They have nothing substantial behind that glimmer, all show, no substance, and toxic aggression. Well, it's essentially the fish version of overcompensation. Bloodfin tetras, on the other hand, are pure serotonin, baby. They got those sleek silver bodies and red fins that look like they're constantly low-key flexing, but in a humble brag way. They school tightly, they stay unproblematic, and they don't eat your aquascaping like it's a late-night snack run. They're hardy, fun to watch, and they fit into a community tank without turning it into a Real Housewives reunion episode. These guys give off healthy boundaries and emotional maturity. Okay, so you're thinking about neon tetras. I mean, classic choice, props there, but maybe take a seat for this one. These sparkly little divas are the OG influencers of the aquarium world. Gorgeous, iconic, and a little bit high maintenance. Their aesthetic is top tier, don't get me wrong, but behind that glow up, it's all stress, mystery illnesses, and a suspicious habit of just dying for no reason. Really all thanks to overbreeding. They're basically the fish version of a Tumblr-era indie girl who thrives on chaos and wilts under pressure. Neon tetra disease is getting way too common for these guys. If you want the vibe without the existential dread, well, you need black neon tetras in your tank. These fish are like the cool, stable, older cousin who drinks water, goes to therapy, and doesn't fake a crisis every Tuesday for attention. They're sleek, they're subtle, and they still bring the visual flair, but they won't crumble the second your heater hiccups. They're hardy, they're peaceful, and they are way less likely to cause an aquatic trauma spiral. And honestly, that sounds like a win for your tank and your mental health. Okay, hear me out. Zebra Danios are cute, sure. They're active, they're hardy, but they're just cracked out of their little minds 24/7. I mean, these fish have two speeds, 100 miles an hour or asleep. If your tank is meant to be peaceful haven with floating plants and ambient vibes, well, Danios will straight up ruin the aesthetic. They're doing laps around the tank like they're training for the Fish Olympics. Constantly. It's given main character in a racing anime who never stops monologuing mid-sprint. And their energy? Contagious, but in the worst way. Slower fish will either get stressed or get out. So if you're not trying to host aquatic CrossFit in your living room, go for the White Cloud Mountain Minnow. These little beans are the definition of chill. They're peaceful and they're cute, perfect for nano tanks, and they thrive in cooler water too. So you don't even need a heater in most setups. They're the quiet friend who drinks herbal tea, listens to folklore on vinyl, and journals about their feelings. They bring balance, serenity, and they don't suddenly break into cardio sessions just because the filter turned on. They slay softly. So, you're considering an Alligator Gar, huh? Alright, bold choice, champ. They're huge, and they are ancient and vaguely threatening, which yeah, that sounds pretty cool in a prehistoric kind of way, but unless you got a public aquarium in your backyard or you're secretly Aquaman, you might want to rethink. Alligator Gars grow longer than your average adult human, and they can low-key wreck the ecosystem if released into the wild. Also, in many places, they're straight up illegal. Keeping one in a home aquarium isn't just a red flag, it's a walking flag with teeth. Swimming flag with teeth? Anyways, Florida Gars though, still large, still spooky, and still have that I survived extinction and I'm judging your decor energy, but they top out around 2 feet instead of 6. If you got the space and the experience, they're a little more of a realistic flex. It's the difference between saying I'm into exotic species and I want my tank to double as a final boss arena. Pick your vibe accordingly. Bubble Eye Goldfish, oh boy, these fish are the equivalent of trying to keep an antique teacup alive. They got big old fluid-filled face sacks that look kind of like they're from Dark Souls. They're unique, sure, but also they scream, please don't sneeze near me. One wrong bump and it's over. They can't see well, they get injured easily, and everything in the tank suddenly becomes a hazard. It's like Final Destination in your living room. Aquatic though. Anyways, even gentle tank mates can accidentally do damage, or decor, or the filter. Honestly, even the vibes themselves can be dangerous for bubble eyes. Now, if you're going for grace and charm without constant ICU level anxiety, fantail goldfish are where it's at. Gorgeous flowy tails, cute little faces, and none of the emotional damage. Anyways, they're the perfect balance of elegance and survivability. They'll thrive in your care without needing bubble wrap armor or around-the-clock surveillance. They're a healthy relationship. Bubble eyes are just an emotionally unavailable situationship with boundary issues. You know what I'm talking about. Thinking about getting a discus? Oh wow, you must really love stress, don't you? Yeah, discus fish are straight up stunning, no doubt. They're the underwater equivalent of an Instagram influencer who only wears neutrals and drinks alkaline water, but they come with a list of demands longer than a Coachella rider. Soft water, acidic pH, high temps, ultra clean water, premium food, and the emotional energy of a chaotic neutral deity. You skip a water change? Oh, they know. You breathe wrong near the tank? They know. Look at them funny? Oh, they manifest illness out of spite, baby. Severums, on the other hand, are the colorful, chill alternative that won't send you into a Google spiral about 17 different obscure fish illnesses at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, sorry. They come in some gorgeous color morphs, they've got personality, and they won't make you feel like a failure if your water parameters slip by 0.2 for a day. They're adaptable, they're friendly, and they're way easier to keep happy. It's like the emotional intelligence for healthy communication vibes for these guys. Severums are for the people who want a good-looking tank, and also to, sleep at night. If you're thinking about getting glowfish because they look like rave lights with fins, well, yeah, they do, and sure, they're flashy, fun, and very much giving cyberpunk beta fish, but we gotta talk. Listen, glowfish are genetically modified to glow like someone left the saturation slider on max, and that's cool in a My Little Aquarium kind of way, but it also comes with side effects. We're talking about a weakened immune system, shorter lifespans, and a higher risk of getting sick from things that wouldn't even phase their OG versions. They're like the iPhone battery of fish. They start strong, but you're at 3% in 6 months. Meanwhile, their original unaltered counterparts? Way less drama. Danios, Tetras, Barbs in their natural form are healthier, hardier, and they live longer. Why? Well, because they're built to survive, not just to look good under a blacklight, and no weird breeding behaviors or random incompatibility with meds. You're getting all the energy, all the beauty, and none of the bioengineered baggage. Choose real over radioactive. I like that one. We're gonna trademark that right there, a little TM. Ding! Okay, anyways, let's move on to Arowanas. They're stunning, no question. They glide across the water like they own it, because they kinda do. But unless you're building an aquarium the size of a hot tub, you're gonna have a bad time. These fish can reach up to 3 feet long. They're aggressive, they're jumpy, and they cost more than your entire starter tank setup. And oh, they will jump out of your tank if your lid isn't locked tighter than Fort Knox. They're like the IT girl of fish with a side of property damage. Now enter half-beaks, tiny, sleek, surface-dwelling fish that give you the same dragon-esque silhouette without requiring a small mortgage and a bunker-level tank lid. They got those narrow jaws, torpedo bodies, and they're just chill to keep around. Half-beaks are also live bearers, so if you're into breeding, you got options. Plus, they're not going to throw themselves into the air because they saw a shadow. We call that emotional maturity. So you're thinking, ooh, rainbow shark, that sounds cool. Well, sure, until it grows up and starts acting like the CEO of your tank. As juveniles, they're fine, but then puberty hits and they become territorial nightmares. Rainbow sharks will stake out a section of the tank and they will gatekeep it harder than a mod in a toxic subreddit. They'll chase anything that breathes near their zone, and suddenly your peaceful tank is a battleground where nobody's allowed near the algae. Now, if you actually want someone to clean up your algae without turning the place into an underwater Hunger Games, well then, go for the Siamese algae eater. These fish are the unsung heroes of freshwater tanks. They're peaceful, they're hard-working, and they actually do their job. They're not just here for the drama, they're here to vibe and clean your glass. No chasing, no claiming territorials like they're medieval warlords, just results. Reliable, low-key, and exactly what you want in a coworker or a fish. Common plecos are the biggest catfish scam out there. Pet stores sell them as algae cleaners that stay small, then in reality they turn into giant aquatic vacuum cleaners that poop more than they clean. These guys can hit 18 inches easily, and they produce more waste than a frat house on a Sunday morning. Eventually, they stop eating algae altogether. You wanted a janitor, well, you got Godzilla with IBS. Congratulations. Now, bristlenose and clown plecos, on the other hand, well, these guys are actual kings. They stay tiny, usually around 4 to 5 inches. They actually love eating algae, and they don't destroy your aquascape out of boredom. Bristlenose even rock those little face bristles, which honestly make them look like little wizards. And who doesn't love a wizard? Okay, you can also try clown plecos, which are more low-key but still effective. Either way, they do the job you bought them for without becoming a sewer system in fish form. Gotta love competency. Dwarf Gourami are stunning, they really are, but they're also walking red flags with fins. A lot of them are affected with a disease called Dwarf Gourami iridovirus, which is as bad as it sounds and as fatal as it sounds. There's no cure, it spreads, and even when you get a healthy one, their lifespan isn't great. They're usually pretty territorial as well. This fish is the definition of looked good on paper, but now you're crying in your car. Now let's talk about the HMPK. That is Half Moon Plakat Bettas. Now these guys are like the blue flame muscle cars of the betta world. Short fins, strong swimmers, and absolutely stunning. They got all the beauty of long fin bettas without the fragility and none of the gourami health drama. Plus they're smart. You can teach them tricks. Yeah, they'll follow your finger, and they got personality. They're just the fish equivalent of that gym rat who also reads philosophy and respects your boundaries. So you're tempted by the wolf cichlid. You're feeling edgy. You want a fish that looks like it could eat somebody. Cool. Just know that these guys are straight up unhinged. They will solo your entire tank. They're massive, hyper-aggressive, and they give zero apologies. You put another fish in there, and it's not if, but when the throwdown happens. This fish does not coexist. It dominates. It's a final boss of your tank, but not in a fun way. Now, if you're down for a little aggression, but you still want to, keep other fish alive, well, Oscars are the answer. Oscars have attitude for days, sure, but they're manageable. They're the bad boy with a soft side. You can hand feed them, you can train them, and even give them toys. They're smart, personable, and while they don't tolerate disrespect, they won't go full psycho unless provoked. They're the chaotic neutral, not chaotic evil fish in the world, and that's a win. Listen, if this saved you from accidentally adopting a fish with main villain energy, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want more unfiltered, mildly unhinged fish keeping advice that won't sugarcoat the aquatic tea, and drop a comment below with the most toxic fish that you've ever owned. We're making a red flag tier list next. You've been warned.